Aha! You'll still have these little dots and stuff in the new camera. Well, it's better than the old one, which had, you know, it got decent stuff in there, but it was like big blocks everywhere else. But we saw Fantasy Island.
It wasn't called Fantasy Island.
Oh yes, it's not called that in the UK technically. It was called Blumhouse's Fantasy Island.
With the Blumhouse in a very small font.
Because I'm guessing there was another film with the name Fantasy Island. They couldn't get the rights for it. It's like why in the UK Avengers was renamed Avengers Assemble. When you could have just called it Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes or something like that.
Or Marvel's Avengers.
Yeah. So we got Blumhouse's Fantasy Island. You didn't even name it after the fucking director. Jesus Christ. It's like the studio is like, oh, here's United Artists. Some film that they made.
Lucasfilm's Star War.
Yeah. Or Warner Brothers' latest Batman film that's not very good.
Warner Brothers' Suicide Squad.
Anyway.
No, but like it was actually on the actual film card, the BBFC accreditation card down as that name. So
yeah,
it's official.
I didn't realise that the name change had happened until we saw it there.
Something in the marketing.
Yeah. Guessing it's technically its name, it's just they're not publicising it.
Nah.
Anyway, we saw it, and I'm curious what the thought process was that led into, let's take this family show from the 70s and turn it into a horror movie. I mean, like, I'm not opposed to that. In fact, I think it's quite a fun idea. Last time we did a vlog, not us, not we, but me and Omega, discussed several other shows and how they could be turned into horrors. I still think The Love Boat, could be turned into a horror movie, but human trafficking. But you know, it kind of works for the first 2/3.
Yeah, like I had to leave the screen to take a pee near the end of the, like maybe 20 minutes before the end, and on my way out I was like, I'm really enjoying this film. It's really good. And by the end of the film, after I came back from that break, it was like, okay. You
fell into a parallel universe in the bathroom, and the film was just suddenly terrible in this alternate reality.
It was really bizarre. As I went out, I took a note of what screen I was in so I could find my way back in. I came back and it said, no film, this screen is closed for cleaning, please do not enter. And I was like, oh
no,
well, where am I?
The film doesn't exist.
So I just went on in anyway.
Anyway, the spoiler-free part. What do you call it? It's an island called Fantasy Island, and you've got the most Latino guy called Rourke possibly ever, but that's just like the TV show, who owns the island, has an army of slaves working for him who all wear white, as per usual.
He wears white shoes, white trousers, white belt, white shirt, and white blazer.
And the Ricardo Montalban from the 70s wore a white tie as well. He was very, very sort of, crisp, and like, he was like, I have an enslaved dry cleaner somewhere on the island.
Now, somebody who has worn white trousers in the past, I can confirm they're not appropriate attire for a jungle environment.
So he brings a bunch of American twats there, and he goes, I give you your fantasy. And
what's your greatest fantasy? I made you fill in a questionnaire.
And then it goes bad because it's a horror movie. But I was disappointed. Obviously, it goes badly, and then there's like other stuff that's happening, which is where it goes off the rails. But you could easily do this as like a Lucifer type figure, where you've got like tempting devil giving you your greatest fantasy, and some people react badly and have bad times, other ones have good times, depending on the pure of heart doing okay, or something like that, which I think the 70s show did occasionally. But this one, there's a deeper plan, and it's really dumb. But you have two guys who are brothers. One's gay, one's straight, one's sort of Asian, one's Caucasian. Like their parents got married.
One's tall, one's short.
Yeah, like their parents got married when they were kids, and like they're best friends. Like the parents were homophobic and sort of kicked the gay one out, so they lived together and they're best friends. And those two, their entire fantasy was just to go off and party and do a lot of drugs and and have sex with models.
The interesting thing, the Asian fella, what was his name?
Braxton.
That's right, Braxton. Like, and over there for you, and there's like loads of scantily clad men hanging about, and he's like, I have layers, and you open the curtains and there's weed, and he's like, I have 2 layers.
Yeah. And so, they're perfect.
Respect.
Yeah, it was like completely, as above board as you can when all they want to do is have sex with models who may or may not be mind controlled and, of weed, but they don't know any of this. They just think it's like, they're getting, people are paid to do so. I don't know.
Big party.
Yeah, but
They think it's VR at some point.
Yes.
Before this, so they are not too sure what way it works, but they're like, oh, it's holograms or VR or something like that.
Yeah, I think some of them are sure like they're basically prostitutes. Other ones convinced like it's holograms and stuff. Each of them has other ones think they're just actors. Because none of them believe that it's actual supernatural power because why would you until mad shit happens. I really wanted those two to just have a nice time because everyone else wanted really complicated things like go back in time and change a important decision or become a soldier to be like to be close to his dad who died a war hero or
get revenge on their childhood bully.
Yeah, like torture the childhood bully, shit like that. They wanted stuff that was complicated or grey or something like that. Well, these guys, they just wanted to have a good time. So I kind of wanted everyone else to have like have their thing and it get worse and worse and worse, but you cut back to those guys every so often and they're just having a ball the entire time. I thought that would have been hilarious.
Yeah, I really would have. I think that would have been a better creative choice.
Spoiler, that's not quite what happens.
No, but overall the film was enjoyable. It wasn't a slog to sit through like some of the things I've been forced to watch. It didn't make
like the film earlier today.
It didn't make me want to leave.
Like the film earlier today, we watched this earlier. It was not good.
No, it's not.
But it was a patron request, and it will be reviewed.
But no, Fantasies, it's a good show. It's not a 10 out of 10 by any stretch of the imagination.
Yeah, the until it goes a bit crap, and I'm very sure it's because of reshoots. Because one of the characters is revealed to be evil.
Spoilers.
I know, but I'm not saying who it is. It's like there's a character who doesn't seem to be evil, but then is evil, and the way that they're acting beforehand does not line up with how they act later on. Like they're by themselves and they're like shocked by stuff,
and they're sure they're not being observed, and
yeah,
just acting.
Yeah, so that does not make sense. So I think it's a matter of reshoots, and they were doing something else beforehand, which might have been better, might have been worse. Who knows?
But to me, the whole film felt like somebody's passion project. Though in the middle of the film, there's sort of a lot of diverging plot lines set up that then converge to a point all in the same location, with things being set up turning out to come from different parts of other people's fantasies, and
yeah, they'll cross over.
It was actually really well executed at that point, and I feel like that's somebody's passion project that's then being told by the studio, no, that ending sucks, change it.
Yeah, I got the feeling they were building towards something a bit more complicated.
Yeah.
But well worth the watch, and honestly, I really would hope that they would do more. I have no idea how well this is done. Like, I don't think it's been a massive smash hit, but I would love to see more of them because it does have the scope for almost limitless amount of stuff you can do with it. You could even have different genres. You could do a romantic comedy film where people come to the island and you've got like romantic comedy shenanigans happening to all the characters. You can do any genres. You could mix and match genres inside the single film.
But that would be artistically creative. We can't do that.
Especially now with Blumhouse.
If we have a sequel, it'll be about one of the characters who was on the island. He has flashbacks. There'll be a cameo appearance by Rourke. And it'll be about their life after the island.
Probably.
That's how sequels are written now.
I mean, yeah, it's not creative. Who do you think produced this? A1. They produced The Witch and The Green Knight and a bunch of other stuff. They do very creative stuff in a low budget, sort of horror tinged area. Unlike Blumhouse, who are a bit cookie cutter, shall we say. Take that, Blumhouse.
Well, we go and do spoilers.
Yeah.
This is spoilers. If you don't want the movie to be spoiled, don't watch them.
One of the actual villain turns out to be one of the guests who I swear I'm not kidding. She basically looks like an identical clone of Siobhan Thompson from Anglophenia and College Humor. But I'm very sure it's not her, but it is fucking distracting.
So it's your standard group of white people. There's the Chad, Soldier Boy.
Well, there's one non-white person.
Oh, the white people are your standard group of white people.
Yeah, but there was the gang, 5 of them. One of them wasn't white. What's the separator between him apart from him not being white?
Okay, so there's the Chad.
There's a bunch of twats.
Okay, bunch of twats. There's the Chad, Soldier Boy, who was a cop, wanted to be a soldier.
Yeah.
There was the stoner, shaggy kind of character who was just like, I want to have fun and do my own thing. There was his brother who's like, "Oh, have fun, do my own thing, but also I'm gay."
Yeah, those two were great. I'm really.
It would have been funnier just to have them doing their own thing the whole time.
Yeah, everything else getting all like complicated and violent and sort of interconnect to each other, and those guys, they have no idea what's going on, and they're like, maybe everyone else is dead by the end of it, but they get off the island by themselves and like wondering where everyone else is, and just shrugging because like, dude, we had fun.
There's the white girl who's clearly just modelled after, well, character-wise, everybody's friend who's a bit kooky, seems to have a handle on it all, but is some sort of severe trauma underneath the surface and barely passing by.
Yeah.
Everybody's friend like that. Who have I missed?
There was the slightly older woman who
yes,
with the relationship.
But the biggest issue with the film to me is that people aren't genre savvy in any way. If you've got this mysterious thing like what's your greatest fantasy, you don't say I want to have it all. You don't say I want to fix my mistake. You put that shit in writing and get it checked over by a lawyer. You're like,
yeah, but you're also not. They're also not expecting it to be literal. So
yeah.
I mean, this place. They're not the first people to go there, so there must have been some sort of, not Yelp, but there must have been something that they found out about the island or something. It's got to have been known at least some circles.
Well, they're asked at the start to leave a good review on social media, so
it's a little bit vague about what exactly its connection with the rest of the world is. I mean, I vaguely have a little theory that the current Mr. Rourke might be the same universe as the previous ones, and the Ricardo Montalban version of Mr. Rourke sort of retired, maybe, because the current Mr. Rourke has only got the role because his fantasy was for his wife to be alive again, so because she died, and so she's on the island, and he has to be in charge of the thing. So I'm thinking that possibly when he took over from the Ricardo Montalban version, who was there for a similar reason.
But his fantasy was specifically, I want my wife back with me just as she was when we first met, i.e. about to keel over and die from whatever sickness she has.
Which was really dumb.
Which, like, that, go back to my previous point, that's just pretty much self-inflicted injury.
Yeah, but he probably had that fantasy before he realised how it worked.
Yeah.
But the if you do like the original TV show, I didn't do a little clap at the end whenever one of the guys from the guests end up staying at the island, and he early on there'd been a mention that he had an embarrassing tattoo,
and he had the nickname T.
Yeah, and so at the end he's going to get a job from Mr. Rourke, and Mr. Rourke is like, oh, what is your tattoo? What nickname did you have? Oh, it's because of this tattoo I got. And he goes, what does that tattoo say? And so he shows him the tattoo, and it just says tattoo. And so he's like, well, we're going to give you a job, Tattoo. And because Tattoo was Hervé Villachenze's character in the original one, who was like, Mr. Rourke's assistant. I realize I've explained that in a really roundabout way, but it's a nice little nod to the original.
It is a nice reference. So anyway, all these people are getting their fantasies.
The plane, Mr. Rourke is coming. The plane. I've never seen Fantasy Island, but I know what Hervé Villachenze sounds like.
Sorry, I'm just winding you up there.
How did he speak like that? Oh man, that hurt my voice just doing an impersonation.
It's about your glottal stop, I think. It's more about getting the gravel into the voice without doing anything.
Oh no, Hervé Villachenze, he was Knick-Knack in the James Bond movie.
Well, that's the exact same thing, only in a higher register that I can't do.
Oh, okay.
My vocal cords are too long.
Peter Dinklage played him in a movie. Poor Peter Dinklage, his voice must have been...
strained.
Yes.
But they all arrive on this island and they're like, welcome. And the two brothers are like, we don't have a house or a room. And he's like, that's because your fantasy starts right now. And takes them on a track to this party full of strippers and pools and people doing cool tricks and a room just full of weed and male models. And it's like, yeah, damn right, this is our fantasy. This is lovely. But it's because they wanted the fantasy of having it all. But don't you know, if you've got it all, you got it from somewhere and they want it back.
So, a bunch of Russians come and start shooting everyone.
Like, why did you kill Valinsky? And it's like, we don't know, we just arrived. I don't believe you. Oh, shit. It's pretty much the whole thing.
And the soldier guy ends up with his dad in soldiering, and his dad on his last mission and things like that.
The mission where his dad died a hero by throwing himself in a grenade to save his squad.
And when his dad finds out about this, he was just like, well, fuck this, I'm leaving. And so rather than just be all like, well, I will be a hero then, and inspiration. He's just like, nah, I'm going home to my kid. Fuck you guys. It was great.
And his son's like, you won't do that because I'm here to fix things.
You're a cow. You're not a coward. You're a hero. And he's like, I don't give a fuck. I got a son to raise. And then the son, who's now grown up, is like, well, what if we do the mission and then I'll throw myself in the grenade or something? That'll change history, I'm sure. And I wasn't quite explained that's what the plan was, but I'm pretty sure that's what the plan was.
Yeah.
And the dad was like, okay, fair enough. You can die.
Yeah. You can die. And then the blonde girl, fuck, what was her name? Like Marionette or something.
Melanie?
Melanie or Melody, something like that. Her fantasy was apparently to torture her childhood bully.
Which she does.
Yeah.
And,
That's pretty fucked up, by the way. I don't know if the film focused enough on that this is your deepest, wildest fantasy. And if your fantasy is torturing somebody who was bullying you 15 years ago, you really have mental problems. And you should speak to your therapist about that.
well, she just thought it wasn't real. And so she... So I don't think... I wouldn't go quite that strong. Because, spoiler alert, she's the one that turns out to be evil. Which this might have been their attempt at actually setting up that she was evil. But before the twist happens, you know, she seems to be pretty much normal, and then she is horrified when she finds out that they're real. And then she, you know, tries to save them and stuff like that. So, like, she just wanted to hurt a simulation or something.
Yeah, but she's like... So she goes into the room, down the lift, and her childhood buddy's taped a chair, and she's like, aha, presses the button, and she gets zapped in the arm, presses the button, and it flushes a toilet on her, because one of the things she did to bully her was pour toilet water over her head. And then, like, this big dude who's apparently based on her ex-therapist, who's Dr. Torture.
Who was, ex-therapist who apparently was a wrestler. Because he's like 8 foot tall and made of muscle.
Comes in and starts torturing her, and then they send a video of her cheating to her Facebook, and call her husband and everything, and it's like, okay, this is quite creative for torture, but, you know, standard fare. And it's like, oh my god, she's real, I have to stop this and rescue her, and I'm not being observed by anybody right now. In fact, nobody can see me.
So why am I so surprised by all this in real time?
Oh, why?
I'm not this good an actor.
I'm breaking the fourth wall. But
they really should have reshot some of that stuff.
It turns out her entire motivation was that she was supposed to go on a date with a guy who she had had coffee with earlier and arranged this date, but he didn't show up. And it turns out that he didn't show up because
he was busy dying.
He was busy dying in a fire at his apartment. And the girl who wanted to go back and fix the saying no to her potential husband,
she accidentally set the fire when she left a kettle boiling.
Yeah, on a stove, apparently. And
the soldier guy was the police officer outside who could have theoretically ran in and saved him.
But followed procedure and didn't do that.
The two brothers lived in the apartment complex, and they were friends with the guy, but they didn't go check on him because they were sure he was out on a date.
Because he had said, I've got a date tonight.
Yeah, and so they didn't, you know, save him. And so this is why those four were chosen to be basically murdered by the island.
So her fantasy was to kill 4 people who were tangentially related to the reason that a guy stood her up.
This is the part of the film where it went completely off the rails and dumb.
But like before that, it gets really good because Soldier Boy's mission with his dad turns out to be storming this like villa, and that turns out to be the villa where the 2 brothers are,
and where the Russians are trying to kill them.
Yeah, and like his dad's grenade is like foreshadowed because they find an armory and like they're fucking about with grenades and throwing them in the sea. It's like, oh, so that's what the grenade came from, and it's actually really well done at that point. It was like, yeah, I like this.
Yeah, it was good. Like it was absolute bobbins, but you know it was decent. Like 7 or 8 out of 10.
Yeah, and the whole side plot with your woman, and she's like, my wish was to fix what I did wrong, and the island provides her with like the date she was on with her boyfriend at the time where he proposed, and she said no, and she's like, yeah, I'll say yes this time, and now we've got a child and it's 5 years later, and
like they have the meal, then they go to bed, and then she wakes up in the morning and he's 5 years older, they have a daughter together living on the island, and then she's like, well, if this is actually real, I could save that dude's life.
Yeah. She's like, my actual fantasy was to fix what I did wrong, and it's my fault he died. So it sends her back to after the fires got out of control, and so she can no longer do anything.
Yeah, so she couldn't actually save him, but she could try and be tormented that way.
It didn't make sense to me, that bit.
Yeah, I got the feeling this is roughly the part where rewrites happen at some point.
Yeah.
So they're all like floating about the island and being escorted by a PI who's been sent there.
Yeah, Michael Rooker was sent there at some point to investigate what the fuck's going on in the island, and he's trapped in the island, and he discovered like a crystal that powers it. Even I'm not sure why a crystal can do all this, but he's like, I gotta get the information off the thing, and he's probably got a plane. He's been there for 3 weeks, but he's got a plane which
On standby.
for 3 weeks, near enough that it can fly over at a moment's notice, and he can't call it because he lost his phone.
Yes, that phone was confiscated.
So there's bits that don't quite gel.
Yeah. But he finds the crystal. He dies attacking the dentist monster therapist.
Yeah, push them off a cliff. But they go like,
The island can make like black-eyed zombie people at will, just as they want.
Yeah, and everything, the people it created seem to have their own personalities until they die and then they become more zombie people.
But the staff are also implied all to be fully human.
But they're all working for the island.
Yeah.
It's a little bit confused. I really wish that they just kept, what was powering the island completely ambiguous and just made the whole thing simpler. Of, oh look, some of their stories are bad. Some of them turn out to be good. Some of them turn out to be really, really bad. I think that would have been much more satisfying.
I like that they did acknowledge, it's an island where your best fantasy comes to life. It's mostly weird sex stuff.
Yeah.
I like that they acknowledged that the majority of the human race, it's going to be some weird sex thing.
Yeah, like they could do a film, like a sequel of some sort where it's like almost everyone just has the weird sex stuff. And then like one person wants to have like this relationship with their partner who died, and so they have an entire lifetime in that night, and then they they both die of old age, and then they wake up again the next morning in the island, and like that's it over, and it's like, oh, that's a heart-wrenching drama.
Yeah, they could very easily do a porn.
Yeah, they can do any genre they like. It's like, that's why this is a very elastic concept, and I hope they do. I hope they stick the landing next time.
Yeah, it's very, 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 very similar to the old genie stories, though.
Yeah.
It's like, or the monkey paw. It's gonna find that one way to get you.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure the 70s version didn't do that. At least most of the time.
I don't know. I'm too young to remember it.
I haven't seen it. Just read about it. I think I've seen clips too of Hervey Village Hansay screaming about the plane, the plane.
Oh yeah, so it's like big brother dies and little brother is, well, actually he's the older sibling, but he's like, I never got my fantasy. That was all my brother's fantasy with all the weed and gay men for
me to have sex with. So yeah.
But my fantasy is for my brother not to be dead, and he's like, well, for that you'll have to live here forever. It's like, okay.
So yeah, the little brother, the little Asian gay guy, ends up living on the island, becoming tattoo, and his older brother gets off the island, alive again, and it's like, oh, and they sort of have a little wave goodbye, and it's so.
They're on the plane, and the two girls who are left alive are like, wait, we forgot somebody, and his brother just appears in the co-pilot seat and is like, no, we didn't.
I don't think he's coming with us. He goes, I'm not sure why I'm alive again. I could be a simulacrum. Who knows?
It was a very silly film.
It was. And
it was going so well, though.
And not everything lined up. Like, sometimes you got, like, nuance and stuff, but everything's sort of going in the same area, so it's like, you can tell it's consistent. With this one, it's not consistent, and so it's less nuanced and more of a fudge.
Yeah. I wonder did it change directors halfway through?
I don't think so. It could well be like the Fan Four Stick, where 2/3 of the way in they reshot everything and the director didn't want to. So who knows?
Yeah.
Omega, do you have anything to say about this film that you didn't see?
No. I've seen a few episodes of Fantasy Island, like way back in the day when I was a little kid homesick from school. But again, it was like one of those like adult shows. It was just kind of on in the background.
Was there much torture in it?
No. There was lots of commercial breaks though.
Was there weird sex stuff in it?
Definitely not.
No.
Okay.
I'm not interested then.
Well, I mean, there might have been. I might have fallen asleep during the sex parts and woken up during the Price is Right, but
Would have been a very interesting fantasy if Price is Right was on Fantasy Island.
And quite honestly, like a little kid who watches Fantasy Island, but like, what's your greatest fantasy? Probably just sugar.
Hang out with Optimus Prime.
I hate to be the existentialist.
Be a transformer.
But honestly, if I'm asked what my greatest fantasy is, it's changing a part of myself. It's not anything external. Like my greatest fantasy isn't rolling around in millions of dollars or anything. It's
Well, that could be an adaptation of my idea for the growing old one. You know, sort of like the inner light, where you get to live an entire life with that change and see how it is, and then you die, and then you wake up the next morning and you're back as you were.
I know what your greatest fantasy is. What you'd stay on the island for. Endless capybaras.
Capybaras are awesome.
To just like hang out, like you'd have like a little like villa with like an oasis, and then like all the capybaras would be there, and you just like tend the soil, and like live a life of capybaras in solitude.
no. The greatest fantasy would be an amphitheater entirely filled with people chained to their chairs that she can watch shit films with.
That would be pretty fun. How about we mix these together? We get a bunch of capybaras with human level
Make them watch
intelligence
films.
who never have to shit or piss, who get to live and hang out with me and be
Yeah,
my
but if they're
friends, and they watch films
if
with
they're
me.
intelligent, they'll just go like have a toilet somewhere.
Yeah, but then I don't have to be in charge of it. So it's like,
No, but they're intelligent. So they'll be like, "I'll be back. I'm just gonna hit the bushes real quick." And be like, "All right, man, thanks."
and they get to hang out with me and watch films. There we go. We can mix these two together.
Good
You only get
point.
one fantasy. It's in the rules.
It's one fantasy, though.
Oh, that's okay.
There you go. You can put as many pieces into a fantasy as you like. I mean, it's very simple. The entire sheet of for your application is pretty long. You have space. It's all one
Yeah,
fantasy.
but like it has to be morally complex. Otherwise, it's no fun. Like you couldn't just be like, "I want to go up in a hot air balloon," because like your man would be like, "But sure, you could have done that off the island."
What an evil hot air balloon.
Yeah, exactly. Or like like my
You
greatest.
can't say that because obviously if you want to go up in a hot air balloon, it was not part of your fantasy not to come down in flames.
Well, I don't know. Or like if you have a really wholesome person, like my greatest fantasy would be that I went to culinary school and learned how to cook. And you're like, "Oh Jesus Christ, this is gonna take a while." Okay, all right, we got Julia Childs in the next room. Just go. We'll see you in a few months.
Well,
Bake evilly.
Well, time is elastic. They do let you sort of play with time, so that
But
would
do
probably
people
be fine.
not have like good motives, like occasionally, or does that not?
Well, these ones, the middle aged, the older lady, she had an innocent sort of thing. She wanted to actually do good,
Oh.
and the evil woman, she wanted to do bad. The other two guys, they just wanted to party. They weren't bad.
They just wanted a rich lifestyle for a night.
That's fair enough.
Yeah, they just wanted to hang out and be famous with a bunch of people who party with them. And that's
They
it.
just wanted a really great bachelor party.
Yeah, basically.
Mr. COD player, he actually mentions, "Oh, it's Call of Duty time." Ugh, he just wanted to be a soldier for a day.
Yeah, the other guy just had daddy issues.
Yeah, fair enough.
But anyway, that was Fantasy Island.
Go say it.
If this was your actual fantasy, leave a comment below.
Wait a minute. The guy was the guy from Ant-Man, right?
Yeah.
Did he
That was
explain the
Mr.
plot?
Rourke.
He did, but not in that style.
Yeah.
Oh.
And again, he was putting on a thicker Latino accent than he actually has in real life.
Yeah, I've heard him interviewed. He sounds like he doesn't sound like he's from anywhere except America. So.
It was
Yeah.
so stupid. It's like, "Oh, yes, I'll do your bidding forever, Island. Just make sure my wife is with me." So she keeps, the way she was when we met. It's like, so she keeps appearing, dying of consumption, appearing again, dying of consumption. And at one point he's like, "Yeah, I haven't told her that she's my wife anymore. I just tell her she's my secretary now."
Yeah, it's too hurt. It hurts too much to have an actual relationship with her before she dies.
But like, we can cure TB now.
Well, it wasn't TB. It was something she had.
Okay.
She had blood, but we don't know what.
Oh, is it
what
like
caused it.
like mysterious wasting wife syndrome?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay,
Woman in the box syndrome.
fair enough.
And that was Fantasy Island. Leave your comments below about what your fantasy is, and if you get extra points if it was watching this, and
Double points if it involves Hagen.
this would involve Hagen because it's watching
No,
this.
but like going.
Triple points if it involves Omega yelling at you during a vlog.
That's exactly my fantasy.
I'm here!
Yes, triple points if it's that ROBYN turns up in these videos more often.
I try. Bye.
Bye. Oh no, I still don't know where the button is. Where is